Jar of happiness. Buckeye defense next season will be generational. Yeah, let's talk about that. Let's get into this again here. Everybody is back. How did this happen? So, first off, before we jump into how it happened, let's talk about every guy who's back. Let's see if I can do this off the top of my head. Offense first. Big juniors who would have been drafted if they would have left and gone to the NFL. Wide receiver, Emeka Egbuka. Running back, Travion Henderson. That's the only two that I know. Well, sorry, excuse me, three. Donovan Jackson.
Donovan Jackson.
Yep.
Those are the three offensive guys who probably would have been drafted if they left. Anybody else that I missed there?
Nobody of note. No.
Yeah.
Defense. Let's start the defensive line. Let's go with the obvious ones, right? Jack Sawyer, JT Tuimoloau, Tyleik Williams, and kind of sneaky good, who I think is going to have a great year, Ty Hamilton.
Yeah.
If he would have left, probably would have been a late round pick, but I foresee him having a season very similar to what his brother did before him when he stuck around for a fifth year and had a good year. Linebackers. Haven't heard from Tommy Eichenberg yet, but let's be honest, he's gone, right?
He should be.
Should be.
He could use a COVID year if he wanted it. He could come back our sixth season. But I think Steele leaving and him and Kate Stover are going to go to the NFL draft. They've been here for 5 years. Their stock's never going to get any higher than what it is right now in the NFL draft. They could come back if they really wanted to, but I just don't see it happening. So Cody Simon coming back, I think, is big for this team. I don't think he necessarily would have been drafted, but he could have been like, I'm done. I'm graduated. I'm ready to move on with my life. He decides to come back. Thanks, Nick. Nick Quint. I'm still here. Appreciate you, buddy. I think that's big for this defense to have a veteran presence in the center that obviously Jim Knowles trusted Aaron. He had him. He was the first one in when they needed three linebackers or if one of the other linebackers had to come out.
Yeah, I mean, it tells me that, I don't know, maybe developmentally there may have been something he was behind, Eichenberg and Chambers. I'm not sure, but the fact that he trusted him to be that first guy in, I think that speaks volumes to what's coming back, and I think that he's ready to take on that leadership role.
Wasn't he banged up a little bit early in his career?
Simon?
Yeah,
Yes,
a little bit.
I believe so. Yeah.
Cornerbacks. Did anybody seriously think Denzel Burke was going to come back?
No, there's no way, dude. This guy's a first-round draft pick.
Chris, go for it, man. I mean,
I'm with Aaron.
Silver bullet.
He was a first-round draft pick. I think that this might be the most surprising of the returning people because he was the one who. I mean, we talked about it a few years back with Wade. Came back when he was at his high point in his draft stock, and he really fell off. And I think that would scare a lot of people, but not Burke. Burke's ready to come back and say, you know what, being a first rounder isn't good enough. I want to be a top 5 pick.
Yeah. So. Secondary. You've got let's see if I can Lathan Ransom.
Yep.
Came back. And Hancock, Jordan Hancock, both coming back. Now both are coming off a little bit of injuries here at the end of their season. I'm thinking maybe they come back, they have a healthy year, they play well, they increase their draft stock. Probably both of them should have come back, but they both came back. Agree, Aaron?
Yes.
Okay. So that's a lot of dudes coming back. Now, here's what I know. When Ohio State, when the transfer portal opened in December, Ohio State was silent. They did nothing.
Or did they?
Yeah. Kind of makes you feel like some people knew something, doesn't it?
That's a lot of, hey, look, this past week was a lot of great news.
That
So
doesn't just happen.
It didn't
exactly.
necessarily surprise everybody, I don't think.
Yeah. So Larry Daniels hit the nail on the head. How did this happen?
Yes.
Here's what I know. Here's what I know, guys.
Money.
The collectives got organized and communication um, was everybody was in moving in the same direction, which is what you want your collectives to do. When those two major collectives, the 1870 Society and the Foundation, which are the two big ones. There's more than just those two, by the way, but those are the big ones. When they became prominent, they weren't lock and step with each other. How did we secure the um, the two big signings on signing day in Jeremiah Smith and Edric Houston? The 1870 Society stepped to the plate. How are we retaining our players who are coming back, who are making six figures or maybe for some of them seven? The foundation is going to make sure that they're taken care of through NIL. This is fantastic that you have two collectives working together to make sure both of those things are being taken care of properly and in comparison with your Alabamas and your Georgias and your Florida States and your Miamis of the world. And so this is huge for Ohio State moving forward that they have those things taking place. Um, and then you also saw that the second wave of transfer portal guys came in and we stepped to the plate. Okay. I think there was a hold off on this first wave, and here's our priority list, and whatever's left will be how we approach the transfer portal. Do you agree or disagree with that, Aaron?
It sure seems that way, and I think that that was probably a smart strategy just to see what was coming back, what could we do, and maybe in that time frame, that's when the collectives got their stuff together, they got organized. So I mean, for the future, I think that was probably the best move.
Chris, agree or disagree with that?
I agree, and I also think that this puts the collectives in a very good position when that next window opens post spring ball. Uh, we've got an idea now of what the true needs are going to be, and we can focus the resources in that direction.
Yeah. Nick Quint asked just a generic question. If a player decides to stay instead of go to the draft, they can increase their stock. Couldn't they also potentially lower it as well? Yes,
Yeah,
they could.
Sean Wade was the
Injuries.
perfect example.
Yeah, there
Absolutely.
you go.
There's been
Sean Wade.
yeah,
Yep.
He went
Jara
from probably a round 2 draft pick to a round 5, wasn't it?
I don't think it was that low. I think he went in the
yeah.
third, didn't he?
No,
I don't really
he went
remember.
4th or 5th because I know he went to the Ravens, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jar of Happiness. An injury can lower your stock as well. See the kid from Notre Dame in 2016. Do me a favor, one of you, look that up. See where he went in the draft. Real
Sean
fast.
Wade?
Yeah, I got it.
Okay.
Let's answer this question, Aaron, while Chris looks that up. Donald Hoffer II. With all these guys coming back, do you think this will hurt us recruiting and guys going into the portal? Guys going into the portal.
5th round, 160 overall.
I stand corrected. Thank you very
Wow.
much, Chris. You're the man. Donald's question's interesting. Let me throw that back up there real fast. Whoops, wrong one. That's Zach's question.
Well,
I feel like we touched on this a little before we went on the air.
With all these guys coming back, do you think this will hurt us recruiting and guys going into the portal?
I don't think that it hurts us recruiting because a lot of these guys are either this is their final year or they're going pro next year, or you know what I mean. I don't think that it's going to hurt in recruiting necessarily. As far as portal goes, I think certain positions maybe, because I'll tell you, when I saw Judkins commit, my first thought was, well, what about Dallin Hayden? So, you know what I mean? Like that kid can play too, and I hate to see him sit another year. Although with Travion having such a case of the ouchies, you know what I mean? Hopefully that's not the case moving forward. But I guess I could see where Dallin Hayden wouldn't want to sit third in the lineup, at running back. So honestly, I think that might be, and maybe secondary might be one of the positions that I would think of that would hurt us, if any.
I think most of the people who are like that are already left. We might see one or two, maybe a handful of guys after spring ball.
Very possible, yeah.
We're going to see a quarterback go in the portal.
I don't know.
I don't see any way that we have 4 quarterbacks on this squad. That, granted, neither Devin Brown nor Keenholz looked exceptional in the bowl game, and that's, we covered that last week or a couple weeks ago. But I don't know that Devin Brown's going to sit another year and want to wait, especially with Nolan coming in.
Okay, so I know it's not going to hurt recruiting, and here's why.
Yeah,
this is only going to help recruiting because they saw the money that came out. Okay,
right.
That's not going to hurt recruiting. Retaining players is interesting.
Yeah,
that one might be a little trickier because if someone sees,
because they also saw the money that came out.
Correct. And they also could want, the perfect example here is Dallin Hayden. I was redshirted my second year on campus. I was redshirted with the idea that I was going to be the number 2 running back in 2024. And here Travion's back, and you guys went out and picked up the one of the top running backs in the country last year to be his running mate. Where does that put us? But my mom brings up a good point.
That's a great point, actually.
Which is obviously typed from my father. So my dad, Buckeye Boggs Sr., depth will be important because extra games in the playoff. Do you guys know how many games Ohio State could end up playing next year if they played every game?
Isn't it 17 or no? Yeah, 17.
17.
It's an NFL schedule, basically.
I was going to say it was an NFL season's worth of games.
12 regular season games, conference game, that's 13, possible 4 playoff games. Now, more than likely, you make the Big Ten championship game. If you win it, you're going to get a bye. It would be 16. But let's say they lose that game, but they're still good enough to get to the playoffs, and then they make a run. That's 17 games. So depth is key. So I would say expressing that, number 1, is important. And number 2, you got to get them on the field, guys. If there's one thing about this coaching staff that they have, I think, done a miserable job at the last couple years, it is getting the younger kids ready by getting them in the game quicker. When you're up 3 scores, put them in.
Right.
And let them play.
Yes, don't do the whole Manila playbook thing. Handoff. Like, actually put them in the game when the game is still consequential a little bit. You got a comfortable lead, but it's still consequential, and let them play the game with a full playbook.
You think Ewers might have stayed if they let him throw a pass?
I think that whole thing was all about money.
Yeah,
I do too, but I don't know. I can't help but wonder.
I see what Jar Happiness. I see what you did there. 17 Buckeye games is nuts. I see that. That was clever. That was good. And if you didn't mean to do that, wow, you just kind of made a good one there. Most that stayed had eligibility remaining. There weren't many surprises. We portaled a few in weak areas. Third on the running back list is next up, the way we've seen this. Yeah, that's true. Your third guy on the running back actually gets quite a bit of playing time in the past couple of years. That is true. I agree with this comment. Do you guys agree with this comment? They hold back the younger
Well,
players.
absolutely.
I think yes, I do agree with it. I don't think that it's in a way it's intentional, in another way it's not. You know what I mean? Like when you don't put them in, obviously they're not going to get used to that game speed that we talk about when they transition from high school to college. You know what I mean? So I don't know. They're kind of shooting themselves in the foot for the future in a couple of ways, I think.
Apparently, Ohio State is not the only team that deals with the issue that we just brought up. Vol Fanatic show. This is a problem that Tennessee has as well. The younger guys aren't getting in enough, even when up big like that. Yeah, it's something that I don't. Ryan Day has struggled with that for some reason, and I don't know if it's just because of his quarterback background. You know, he's always worried about a comeback, and there's never enough points. But until it's literally obsolete, it doesn't matter anymore. Yes, absolutely, Nick. They need to play more than the last drive of the game where they just hand off. Yes, absolutely. And Larry Daniels Day is burning the boats. Yes, and this is a prime example. You're absolutely right, Jar Happiness.
Big time.
That
Yep.
is beautiful. Thank you. Yeah, we weren't ready to play. We had guys who had no idea what they were doing. No, did not have enough serious game reps under their belt to get ready. So, yes, it's great that all these guys are coming back, and we are going to have a possible generational defense like we saw in the chat, and I'm excited about that. And we're going to talk about that. We're going to do a whole bunch of videos about that in the offseason. But you've got to get your depth ready, and you got to get them in the games earlier and get them acclimated to the speed of the game, the physicality of the game. And I know you love this, Aaron. Urban Meyer's message to Master Teague throughout his career, he iterated this a couple times. He speak one word to him over and over and over again. Violence.
Absolutely.
What
Best
what
thing he
is
could have
Ryan
done.
Day missing? Violence.
Got that right.
I mean, that is just that
It's-
spoke volumes to me.
Same, but I don't know, man. I got mixed feelings on it because, like, you know, like Georgia last year, we talk about the wheelbarrow, and if you guys are regular listeners, you know what we're talking about. But why does that only come out at certain times, and then other times it's hit or miss? You think it's going to come out, and then it doesn't. Like, what's going on there?
I don't know. I think Ryan Day got in his own head a little bit.
Think so?
I do.
Do you think he said hi to Harbaugh while he was there?
In his head?
Yeah.
You think he took a walk through the corridors of his brain and he saw Jimmy picking his nose there and he's like, "Oh, hey!"
Yeah.
Right in the forefront. That was terrible.
I want to. This is what I want to believe about this, and then we'll kind of put a bow on this thing here. I want to believe that all of these guys coming back is a signal, and the moves that are being made to this coaching staff is a signal to Ryan Day that he's on the hot seat, and he better coach like it, and he better prepare this team for it. I believe. What we have seen is Ryan Day is pushing all his chips in. I'm all in. I'm going to find the offensive coordinator to call plays. I have given Jim Knowles complete control of the defense. And if you don't believe that, the move with Perry Eliano was a Jim Knowles move, guys. That wasn't Ryan Day.
I didn't see that coming. Did you?
I didn't, but think about it in hindsight.
No, I get it now. I just, at the time, I didn't see it coming. If there was ever a coach to let go first, I didn't think it would be him.
Well, it would if Jim Knowles is in complete control of the defense and he's like, that guy's not up to my standard, and I've got a guy right here who I trust, who I know knows my defense, who's going to put the players in position and coach them the way I want. If Jim Knowles is in control and he makes that move, I don't think Ryan Day makes that move. I think we saw Jim Knowles make that move.
I'm okay with it.
If that's the case, if Ryan Day has his head coach on defense and he's about to go hire his head coach on offense, maybe Ryan Day can concentrate on being the head coach and get Harbaugh out of his head. And it'll also help if Harbaugh truly is in his head that Harbaugh won't be there on the other sideline. Didn't help him this year, but you see my point. Like, I think Ryan Day is all in. And the fact that everybody's coming back, literally minus Marvin Harrison Jr.
Right.
And obviously the money doesn't hurt, but you have to think that a lot of these guys, yeah, they were coming back to improve their draft stock, but they saw what occurred in Ann Arbor this year with the senior heavy team that was up there. The senior heavy teams they've had the last couple of years, actually. Maybe not at the skill positions per se, but just in general, they've had that senior leadership there the last couple of years. And this may be something with them saying, hey, now is our time to go out there and grab that natty.
Well, that's, we've talked about this on the show, and it's something my dad and I have talked about as well. I think one of the biggest issues, I should say, that I think we have compared to like Bama and Michigan recently, we can't seem to keep a team together. We always either have an amazing offense and a crap defense or vice versa, but we can never have both at the same time. Now, I think there's no excuse for Day to not win next season.
He better win, because there's a guy out there who I'm pretty sure would be more than happy to set up roots back in Columbus again if he doesn't.
And I'd be glad to have him too.
Yeah, you keep your eye on the whole Vrabel situation. If Vrabel doesn't get,
if he sits a year, it says volumes.
If Vrabel doesn't get an interview, that tells you everything what's going on in his mind. He's taking a year off. There's no way that guy doesn't get at least an interview from all these openings around the NFL.
All these openings, he'll have a job. It's not even an interview. Look at the way he's performed in the league. He would have a job.
Yeah. Agreed.
So if he doesn't even interview, he's taking a year off.
Yes.
Then you have to ask the question, why is he taking a year off? If he's doing the urban two-step here from Florida, and all of a sudden you see him in the booth or whatever, it's a possibility. I don't think it's I don't know that Mike Vrabel is a college football coach. I know he coached linebackers under Urban Meyer, but coaching in college is completely different than coaching in the NFL.
But I would say
and vice versa.
I would say this, Eric. This ain't our daddy's college football anymore either.
I understand that.
You're now dealing with NIL contracts. You're now dealing with free agency through the transfer portal. You're now dealing with similar egos to what you have in the pro game at this level. Maybe a little taste of the NFL is exactly what you need. And this is a guy who's had success as a player, as a coach.
The chat's hitting the nail on the head. Same thing I'm hearing. Hurdy hates to recruit. Jar Happiness. Music for me, 007. He doesn't want anything to do with recruiting. He's not coming back to college. These are things I'm also hearing. And that's what I'm wondering. That's why I'm saying I don't know that he wants to be back in college. So I think we need to slow down the Vrabel train. Plus, we need to find out first. This is a big but here. Who's the next AD going to be? If it's not a killer, as Aaron likes to call it, or as Urban liked to preach, it's not a violent human being, then we might get stuck with someone who says 11-1 regular seasons is okay with me.
It's only one loss. It's just a game.
I can't handle 17 games of hearing that. I really can't.
Me either.
I will have a blood vessel just explode.
A brain aneurysm. Oh gosh. Let's just hold off on the Vrabel talk until we see who the AD is first, okay? And then let's find out. I think Ryan Day understands that if an AD comes in here who is uber competitive, which is what we all want, by the way, that going 0-4 in 4 straight seasons against your rival is not going to be what keeps your job. The only way he could lose that game and still keep his job is if he then goes on to win the national championship. It's the only way.
That's the only thing that would
The
trump
only-
that loss.
The only thing that would save it at that point.
Yeah.
And so he loses that game again, he's probably fired. That's why I think he's all in, dude.
He's got to be. Has to be.
When it comes to money, Donald Hoffer says, the AD will not have a choice but to fire Day. That's because
The
the
boosters ain't gonna
the-
give it up.
donors will say,
Yep.
yeah.
That's it.
Music for me, 007. I think Ryan Day took a huge step this offseason. Get somebody to call the plays. Let's see how he is as the CEO type of coach. I agree. Listen, Chris and I have said this. Aaron, I think you might even have said this. Ryan Day as play caller OC up in the booth was awesome.
Yes.
Yeah.
Ryan Day on the sideline, head coach OC play caller, not been awesome.
Wussy boy.
Scared.
I was on the Big Ten Talk podcast earlier today as their special guest, and I referenced the Drinkowitz press conference from Cotton Bowl again. How that he literally said he was doing a disservice to his team by trying to be the head coach, play caller, offensive coordinator, quarterbacks coach. Ryan Day, that was literally, he spoke Ryan Day's 2023 into existence. Ryan Day is going to choose an OC as the quarterbacks coach. I am almost 99.9% sure of that. And whether that person is currently the OC for the Buffalo Bills or the head coach over there for the Toledo Rockets, I think those are your top 2 candidates for that position. We'll see.
For now.
Either way, I'm excited about all the guys who came back. We've never seen this before, Aaron.
No,
So-
and I am ecstatic about it, and I can't wait for next season, man. Like you're right, we have not seen this. Now we finally have it. We've talked about it, how we can't get a team together. We have it now. Let's see what happens. I am pumped.
Are we more excited for the players that are coming back or the coaches who aren't?
Players
I'm gonna-
coming back.
I'm going to say a 60-40 split for right now. We'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see what else happens.
My entire Buckeye fandom, cognizant fandom, we have always lost the juniors to the NFL draft.
Yes.
Right.
This is the first time where I've seen the majority of those juniors who could have been drafted all come back. I've never seen this before. This is all NIL, baby. I'm as a Buckeye fan, woohoo, awesome. Now what? Expectations went from here
Mm-hmm.
to here. And
That's
that
right.
means Ryan Day's expectations are here. And he better win.